So what is an apprenticeship? Well, there's two key elements. The first is the work experience with the employer. The second is the nationally recognised qualification with the training provider. So how does this work? Well, 4 days are usually spent with the employer in the workplace, learning from colleagues, the employer, etc. Whilst the other 1 day per week is spent with the training provider. This can be either in the workplace being assessed or at the training centre. Sometimes though, employers send their apprentices off on a block release. So that might be for one whole week every 3 months or something along those lines. So before we dive into apprenticeships even further, ask you a quick question. Who would you employ? The person who's got a qualification but no experience, the person with experience but no qualification, or the person with both experience and a qualification? I think you'd agree it's a no-brainer. And that's what you gain from being an apprentice. So what are some of the benefits of being an apprentice? Well, we've already highlighted the fact that you gain a nationally recognised qualification. Why is that important? Well, you're proving to an employer that you can work at a specific level. So somebody with experience, you don't know whether they can hit the standards, below the standards, or way above the standards. Hence, it's important to have the qualification. Equally important is gaining the experience. So with that in mind, when you're an apprentice, you're learning from people who've been in the job for a number of years, know all the tricks of the trade, and you're learning from what you call maybe the master or the guru of that particular job role. Obviously, you also earn a wage, which is really important, and on top of that, there's different levels that you can enter in at depending on your skill, your experience, and your qualifications. So basically there's 3 key levels: intermediate, advanced, and higher. So apprenticeship levels can seem a little bit confusing, but let me explain. Level studied, level 2, equivalent to 5 GCSEs at A to C or 9 to 4 grade. The grades required to do this level would be 2 GCSEs at A to C or 9 to 4 grade. For level 3, it's equivalent to A-level standard, and for this you would need 5 GCSEs at A to C / 9 to 4 grade. Moving up onto the higher level, i.e. level 4 to 7, that's equivalent to foundation degree upwards, and for that you would need a level 3. So the all-important question, how much will I earn? Well, at 16 to 18, you'd be earning the apprenticeship national minimum wage. Then once you've done 1 year of study and are 19 plus, you would move on to the national living wage. Some companies obviously pay more than the minimum wage, and all apprentices are expected to work at least 30 hours per week. Apprenticeships are available in over 170 industries with 1,500 job roles available, including agriculture, horticulture and animal care, business admin and law, arts, media and publishing, and obviously there's a whole lot more. So what is the impact of apprenticeships? Well, 90% stay in employment following an apprenticeship, 71% of those stay with the same employer, 32% receive a promotion within 12 months of finishing, 75% report taking on more responsibility in their job, and finally, and very importantly, employers think that qualified apprentices are 15% more employable than those with other qualifications. To me, that shows the true value of an apprenticeship. So how do you go about finding an apprenticeship? Well, there's 3 options. One is to check the apprenticeships websites. These have the full apprenticeship sorted out, so the employer's ready to go, as is the training, but sometimes don't find the opportunity that you necessarily want, so then it's a case of contacting the training provider. So that's the second option, and they can link you in potentially with an employer on their books, or they can point you in the right direction for employers local to you. The third option is obviously to actually contact the employer directly and see whether they're looking to take on an apprentice. Obviously the training side of things won't be sorted out in that instance, but you can let the employer know that National Careers can help with identifying the right training provider to move things forward in a positive way. So when making use of Find an Apprenticeship on the .gov website, first of all you'd need to create an account and include your personal particulars or details. Then find the apprenticeship that you're looking for using a keyword search such as the job title, level of the apprenticeship, the employer or the reference number, and then you would need to start completing the application form by adding in your work experience, qualifications, training, education, etc. And finally, the About You section, and this is really important. There's 3 elements to it, and they are as follows. Number 1 is, what are your main strengths? So what you need to do is identify the core elements of the job role by checking this job spec, then identify what your key strengths are in relation to that job role, and then you need to provide evidence through detailed examples. Not too detailed, but punchy ones. Number 2, what skills would you like to improve during the apprenticeship? Think about your main duties and what they would be and whether there are skills you would like to develop. So you only need to write a paragraph, but it needs to be convincing and done in a clever way. So link it directly to the job you're applying for and how you see yourself developing and progressing through the learning. For example, if you were going for a job in the IT industry, you could say something like this. I'd like to improve my knowledge and awareness of the latest programming techniques being used in the workplace to increase efficiency and decrease costs to the employer. And thirdly, your hobbies and interests. The employer uses this to gauge you as an individual, so it's important that you're honest with what you actually say. Quick example, one young lady said on her application that she loved reading because she thought it would make her sound more interesting. Later on, the employer in the interview said, "Oh, I noticed you like reading. Who's your favourite author?" And she turned around and said, "What's an author?" The other key thing to remember is employers often use this as an icebreaker. So they use it at the start of the interview to help you settle into the interview mode and feel more comfortable, but they also can use it as a benchmark. So if you're really enthusiastic about your hobby and interest up here, but for the rest of the interview you're down here, then you're going to be thinking you're not really that enthusiastic to do the job. So what you need to do is level it up. And don't forget, 40% of jobs are advertised online and another 60% are never advertised because they don't need to. So how do you tap into those? Well, we've got social media, so checking out your Facebook and LinkedIn page, because both advertise jobs and a good way of networking. Of course, there is your personal contacts with employers, friends, family, teachers, and so on and so forth. A second pair of eyes, third, fourth, fifth pair of eyes looking for vacancies for you always helps. The speculative approach is really important. Letting the employer know that you're interested in working for them shows you're keen, whereas most people won't bother with the speculative approach. They'll only apply for jobs which are actually advertised on things like Indeed, the Apprenticeships website, etc. Consider offering a work trial to the employer. So you're saying, look, I'm a good worker, let me prove it. And then some companies never advertise on websites like Indeed or the Apprenticeships website because they don't need to, and they only advertise on their website. So if you're keen to work for a particular employer, check their website and take things from there. Then of course there's using sector-specific websites, and finally some university websites or associated websites such as UCAS include apprenticeships. So that's everything about apprenticeships, but you're still going to need a CV, so check out this video.